Hello friends, this is Dr. Amarjeet Kaur, Professor of Accounting and Business Communication at the Department of Management, Gurugram University, Gurugram, and it's my privilege that I am here with you to talk about profitability index method, which is a very important technique in capital budgeting. So, friends, in the past we have covered two of the important technique of capital budgeting, net present value and internal rate of return. Today we would be talking about profitability index method, and just to give you the reference or the background, this is the technique which is known to or which is very important for capital budgeting decisions, which means if a business has to invest in the long term asset, has to procure something which has a bearing on the company for long term, that's what the capital budgeting decisions are. In most of the capital budgeting decisions, expenditure is made current, like in the current time today, or maybe very in near future, but the output, which is the returns, they are expected to come in very long run for most of the projects or options we are considering. So, in that case it really becomes very imperative, important to really analyze the future possibilities and the current outlay in a way that we do not end up having losses in future, because if company is not able to make profits, company is not going to be able to increase shareholders wealth. And the objective of financial management or management in per se is to increase shareholders wealth of a company. So, for that reason it is very important to adopt, to use a good technique, which is an apt one, considering either you are evaluating a mutually competitive product, or you are evaluating an independent project. It all depends what are you up to. So, it becomes important to review capital budgeting decision with the help of certain discounted technique. You may like to use non-discounting in combination of discounting technique, but we should basis on the risk of the project or the amount involved, it becomes really important for someone to pay due attention on the selection of the technique as well. So, the technique which we are going to talk today for evaluation of capital budgeting decision is profitability index method, and thereafter the last one which we have is terminal method, which we will discuss in the future session or lectures. So, friends, profitability index technique, as the name says, we call it as PI as well, PI method. So, PI method or profitability index method is a capital budgeting technique which is used to evaluate the profitability of potential investments. So, whatever you are investing, amount does not matter. In capital budgeting decision, amount does not matter. It could be 1 lakh, it could be 100 crores, right, or 1000 crore. But important is that has a bearing on the company in terms of longevity of the investment. Most of the investments are going to have long term impact of that investment on the company, and they are irreversible. So, since they are irreversible, has important impact or has an impact on the earning capacity of the company, has impact on the profitability of the company. So, that is why we need to pay attention. So, this profitability index in per se, it evaluates the profitability of the investment itself. And how does we do that? So, this profitability index measures the present value of return per rupee invested. So, whatever we have going to invest, we would be investing because we are deciding today for future. So, whatever we would be deciding to invest, so we calculate the present value of the returns we are expecting in future, because a minute ago I said in capital budgeting we are spending today, but the outcome, the returns are in future, and future is unseen, unseen to all of us, is uncertain. So, those returns which are expected in future, we would as per the forecast, we would take those values and we would discount them So which means we will get the present value of those future rupees, and then we use the formula. But before that, reaching out to the formula, I would like to specify that this particular technique, profitability index, is also known by benefit cost ratio as well, BC, benefit cost ratio, because we are comparing, the profitability is in terms of comparing or having a ratio of the present value of inflows versus the present value of outflows, right. So and that is why it is obtained by dividing the present value of future cash inflows by the present value of cash outflows. So that is how the profitability index is calculated, the PI is calculated. In a couple of foreign author books, you will find the formula is little different. They divide the cash inflows, not with the cash outflows. They use a different formula. So instead of taking the total value of cash inflows divided by total cash outflows, certainly they do not use this formula for in couple of books. So profitability index is in short, it is actually the present value of cash inflows divided by present value of cash outflow or initial investment, right. So what is the accept reject criteria in PI? Because every method, every technique we use in capital budgeting, we have a criteria to accept the proposal or reject the proposal. So what we call is as accept reject criteria. So in PI method, the accept or reject criteria is we compare PI, that is value of PI, with 1. So what is my index, profitability index? If it is greater than 1, we accept it. If it is equal to 1, then firm is indifferent to the project. If it is less than 1, then we reject it. So when a problem arises when the PI value is equal to 1, in that case company has to take a call that what to do, because then other than the financial analysis or this capital budgeting evaluation, there would be certain more factors which may play a role. And this is not only for PI, this is for other techniques of capital budgeting as well. So we have to compare the PI with 1, and the best proposal is where PI is greater than 1. But nevertheless, there are companies, there are situations where projects are accepted even the PI clearly shows is equal to 1 or less than 1. Those are exceptional cases. And that we do not consider under finance, because that then some other factor, maybe political factor, maybe some personal factor is playing a role there, and that is why a project having less than 1 value in PI is accepted by people. So this discussion was important to help you understand exactly how acceptance or rejection is made using PI. So now we will be discussing about PI index. So in fact, we will learn how to calculate profitability index with the help of one example, small case study. So this is an example or a caselet on OJAS. So OJAS company has been offered a 5-year contract to provide components parts for a large manufacturer. Cost of special equipment is 160,000. Then working capital which is required is 200,000. Realigning the equipment after 3 years requires 30,000. Salvage value of the equipment in 5 years is 5,000. And then sales revenue from the parts which the company will sell, the OJAS company will sell, is 750,000. Cost of those parts to manufacture those parts is 400,000. Salaries, shipping, etc., which is again on the OJAS company, is 270,000. So the total expenditure on product is 400 plus 270 means 670, and total revenue is 750. The difference of these two is your incremental cash flow, right? That is what we consider in capital budgeting decision. So incremental cash flow in this case would be 80,000. Now at the end of 5 years, the working capital will be released and may be used elsewhere by the company. company uses a discount rate of 10%. The question is, should the contract be accepted using PI technique or not? So, this is the case of OJS company. So, you need to be careful when you are actually reading any small case or big case, that what is the time period given, because what is the discount rate is mentioned or not, what in case we have not been given the discounted values, what was the inflow or outflow values exactly year wise, and be careful in reading that sometimes data is given in the form of annuity. So, do not commit a mistake there as well. So, we need to take all these small points into consideration while reading any question or a caselet. So, same way here in OJS, it is clear that company requires a special equipment to fulfill this particular proposal or the order, right. So, they need 160,000 as a investment in equipment, and then they also need certain capital as well. They need to work on that equipment again, some service, something is required which is known as relining after 3 years, and then company would need to spend another 30,000. So, it is not only the initial investment, which is true for most of the cases. We need to be careful in reading it, that do we need to spend more after some time, maybe after a year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, right. Here in this case, we are spending 30,000 additional, and the salvage value is 5,000, which is an inflow. So, be sure that salvage is always inflow, and when it comes to working capital, it is the requirement in the beginning is outflow, and when the working capital is released in the terminal year, it is an inflow for inflow for the company. So, when we are spending in the first year, it is outflow. When we are receiving or releasing the working capital in the terminal year, that is inflow. So, with this discussion and the data in hand, let us see how we can solve this case. So, we will be calculating present value of cash inflow and present value of cash outflow. So, annual net cash inflow 80,000 as we calculated, they are annual, right. That is why I was saying we have to be careful. And what is the life of the project? 5 years. So, for all the 5 years, company would be getting 80,000. This could be 80,000 crores or 1,000 or lakhs. So, 80,000, the discount factor from the annuity table will be taken for 5 years, right, which is 3.781. The value is there in front of you in the fourth column. We multiply the third column, that is the cash inflows, with the discount factor given in the fourth column, then you will get the present value of that particular cash flow or outflow or inflow both. Then same way we have salvage, which is we are recovering in the final year 5,000, and the discount factor here would be from 1 rupee table. Earlier in the previous row where we had annuity, right, we use the annuity table for discount factor. Here we will be using 1 rupee table to find out the discount factor. So, 0.621, multiply 5,000 with this, you get the present value of 5,000. Same way working capital, which is released in the 5th year, discount factor remains same because the N is same, right, and we will be releasing 2 lakh, but the value of that 2 lakhs 5 years from now, which we are receiving 5 years from now would be less today. So, in 5 years that would be 124,200 if we consider it today, right. So, that is how the discounting is done. So, these were the 3 items of cash inflows which are there. Now, outflow, what we are spending, investment in equipment 160,000. So, the discount factor for today is always 1. So, the outflow would be 160,000. Working capital is also required today only, and the discount factor is 1. So, again it will be 2 lakhs. The last is relining of the equipment. So, here the relining of the equipment is happening in the year 3. So, I would want you to go to the discount table while watching this lecture, and find out the value of 30,000 present value after discounting or discounted value. So, I have given you the factor 0.751, but nevertheless just multiply this and find out exactly what would be the present value of 30,000. So, in fact you should try to use table as much as possible, because unless you are sure about which table to be used, this calculation cannot be correct. So, if you will multiply the column number 3 with the 4, 160 into 1, 200,000 into 1, 30,000 into the factor, and the total of these 3 outflows would be your total cash outflow, and that will be the present value of the cash flow, which is coming out to be 3,85,530. And if you sum up the first 3 which are in yellow, which is a cash inflow, the last column present value, right, first, second and third row the values are there. If you sum them up together, it is coming out 4,30,585, which is written at the bottom last row, right. So, the present value of the inflows are to be divided by the present value of cash outflow. Okay. So, that is what the PI is. So, the PI is going to be 1.125. How? By dividing the inflows with the outflows. So, which is greater than 1, and thereby what is the recommendation now? You need to think. So, since the value is greater than 1, PI value is greater than 1, we should actually accept, we should recommend that company Aegis Limited should accept, simply basis on the value or the numbers of the PI. So, PI index is greater than 1, which is 1.125. Of course, the company Aegis Limited would look into other factors than only the PI value, but basis on the calculation of profitability index, and we are recommending that project should be accepted. So, after this discussion, now I want to talk about merits of PI technique and demerits of PI techniques. So, what are the merits of PI techniques? There are a couple of them. Number 1, considers TVM concept and total benefits. Number 2, provides clear decision rule. Number 3, best technique for capital budgeting in case of rationing and ranking. 4, conceptually very sound technique, and last, it is consistent with overall wealth maximization goal. So, let me explain these merits to you now. So, the first merit of this technique of PI is that this considers time value money as well as the total benefit. If you remember, we have accounting rate of return, which is a non-discounting method where time value money is not considered, right. Then we have another technique, which payback period, where total benefits are not considered. This is the technique where we are considering both. All the benefits arising during the life of the project or the investment are considered. Now, just a minute ago we discussed about the Aegis, for all the 5 years, whatever the revenue, the incremental revenue company was getting, that was considered in terms of cash, it was cash revenue only, that was considered, and along with that the salvage we are getting in 5th year, the working capital realization in the 5th year, that all was considered. So, that is how this is a very good technique, because it's and then we discount it. So, once we discount it means that is the TVM, the time value money concept being used. So, that is the first merit. The second important point in favor of this technique is this provides a very clear decision rule. There is no confusion. For example, IRR gives you so many rates of returns, that becomes confusing for a person who is not well familiar with the finance or the concept of capital budgeting. So, this particular technique gives you very clear decision rule to accept a proposal or not, because our rule is clear, if the value of PI is greater than 1, accept it, otherwise reject it, right. Then we have the third point, that this technique is very good when we have to rank different projects or possible. Companies do not have abundance of funds, every business, be it the biggest company in the world or the smallest company in the world, right? Every company has scarcity of funds, and they have to put a priority that X investment is required, or Y is required, or Z is required. And to do that, if we are able to use PI for every different proposal we are considering, it is the best technique. Because in rationing, what we are doing, we are allocating, for example, I have available a budget of 10 crore this year, and I have to make a choice to open up a new store, or at X place or Y place. So I will be comparing the the investment in building. So that is my first thing. Then I have within the store, I have to decide about X furniture or Y furniture, or X AC or Y AC. So they all are independent decisions, right? So I have to rank different proposals. So basis on the ranking, every individual proposal or the investment is actually considered independently, and that's how the rationing. So finally the company can decide that this is the most important one, this is giving the highest PI, and so on. And this technique is conceptually very sound. Why? Because we are considering all the inflows, we are discounting outflows as well. So this and TVM is also used, total benefits are used. So this becomes a very solid sound technique for anyone to use. Because in net present value, if the proposals, if something is mutually competitive, then it's very good. But if we have to rank different independent things, then that technique is not that great. So same, but this one is very good in rationing, in ranking conditions. And this particular technique is in very much confluence of the wealth maximization goal of a company. Wealth maximization we have discussed in initial sessions when we started the series of financial management, that companies objective of financial management is that companies have the wealth being maximized for them, companies has a goal of wealth maximization, not profit maximization. In wealth maximization, we consider the cash flows, we do not, and we discount those cash flows, the TVM is used. Whereas in profit maximization, only the profits are considered, and profit they themselves are such a vague concept. So since here in this technique also we are considering cash flows, not profits, not accounting profits, and we are discounting them by using TVM, the time value money concept. So the end result of this technique is that decisions taken by these techniques are going to be adding to the goal of wealth maximization, or supporting to the goal of wealth maximization set by any particular company, right. So these were the merits of the PI technique. Now lastly I would be talking about demerits of this PI technique. So there are couple of them. The first one is difficult to understand. The second one is not very effective under mutually exclusive decisions. And number 3, multiple formulas are used for for times, and sensitive to discount rates. So let me discuss these points for the better understanding of the concept of PI. So first of all, people may find it little difficult, because the businessman generally understands the profits. Generally they are more versed with the rate of return. So for times they may find, otherwise this is formula wise, this is the most simplest formula, and calculation wise also this is the most effective one, but people may not be able to comprehend or interpret it well, right. And the second thing, the second demerit, which is actually a demerit for the this technique, that in case the projects are mutually exclusive, we have to choose between 4 alternates which are competing with each other. So what is mutually exclusive? They are competing with each other. We have, for example, I have to invest in in air conditioning of the building, right. So now to decide which particular company, which particular model of the air conditioner to be used, which particular type of the air conditioner. So I don't, so there are 4 proposals, so I issued a tender on my website. There were 4 proposals submitted by different vendors, and now I have to choose only one, because I am not going to buy uh, air conditioner from all the vendors. Certainly only one vendor would be supplying me the air conditioning facility, right. So this becomes, or this is an example of mutually exclusive conditions. Here if we, so PI technique is not recommended in mutually exclusive condition, whereas the net present value is very useful in mutually exclusive condition. But nevertheless, as we discussed, PI is more useful in rationing, in ranking decisions. So that is a benefit, of course, and this is a demerit. And the formula used in calculation of PI varies from, especially from India to the Western world. In the books in US, the formula is different. That could be a little confusing, but nevertheless, the interpretation of all the formulas is same. So I am critically evaluating the technique, in fact, while discussing the demerits. And the last point is that the results of PI, the value of PI, profitability index, will be dependent on the discount rate, because what are we doing? We are discounting the inflows and outflows with the help of one discount factor basis on the discount rate, right. So the moment anybody, X company is evaluating one proposal, Y is also evaluating the very same proposal from the same vendor, but decision could be different by both the companies simply by not selecting the same discount rate, right, because discount rate is dependent on the cost of the capital for most of the company. So it becomes more sensitive to the discount rate than others. So that is another last demerit of this particular method. So with this, I would like to wind up. I hope you could understand what PI technique is. I tried to help you understand the calculation as well with the example of one caselet, and lastly we discussed merits and demerits as well. So friends, time to sign off. Thank you very much.